Carter, Pee Wee, B Miller, Mark Stitt. I can name some more, no cap. That's some real shit. Lil Nick, Bank Street, nigga used to have you sick.
Yo, 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 what up, though? This is your boy, Chris B. Daniels, and you are once again on Show and Talk. So, tonight's movie is a movie that I feel that everybody should have watched by now, everybody in the country. But, you know, it's just one of those things where back in the day when it came out, it was made by Canon Films, I'll say that, but back in the day when it came out, I feel like it wasn't as big as it is now. Well, it probably was when everybody saw it, but when it first released. But yeah, it's just one of those things that I feel like everybody should have watched by now. That movie's Bloodsport. So I'm not going to talk about the actual, story of the movie or whatever. Well, I will talk about, some parts, but I don't want to go through the entire movie like I usually do. So what I want to talk about though is the performances and acting. Now, everybody knows that this was Jean Claude Van Damme's first starring role. Before this, he was in a movie called Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo, which I never seen it, but I seen clips of it where it was a bunch of people dancing on the beach and you could see him dancing in the background and all that. And then he was also in the movie No Retreat, No Surrender. I seen that. He played a Russian fighter, you know what I'm saying? But he never spoke. So he was a beast in that movie too. But yeah, he was the villain in that movie. You know what I'm saying? Um he was in a bunch of stuff. Like he was big in the late 80s, early to mid 90s, maybe even the late 90s, but you know what I'm saying? I'll say his peak was like early to mid 90s. You know what I'm saying? So this movie is supposedly based on a true story about a guy named Frank Dux who actually broke all these records in the kumite, which allegedly was false. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say allegedly, but yeah, the story revolves around him. So the director of this movie, when he spoke to Frank Dux about his situation in the kumite and how he won, number one, how he became the champion or whatever. He said it made for a good story, but I think he thought it was bullshit back then too. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but I was looking at an interview with him, and based on what he was talking about, it was maybe something along those lines. I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but yeah. This movie has a lot of classic scenes. Like for an example, at the beginning, you got the montage where you got all these fighters and whatnot preparing for the kumite. One of the first you see is Ray Jackson, played by Donald Gibbs. You know what I'm saying? He was also in some other stuff too. He was in Revenge of the Nerds. I know he was in the episode of Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction. I don't know if y'all heard of that show, but I felt like me and my family were the only ones that actually watched that show in the 90s. I'm pretty sure some other people seen it, but it's not as talked about as other stuff. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so it's one scene where he's on the bus, right? This is when we're first introduced to him. So he's sitting on the bus with Van Damme's character, Frank Dux, and there's this woman that's sitting in front of him, and he starts, flirting with her or whatever. And she looks at him like, she's not interested. So in the beginning, you think that Frank Dux was going to get up and confront him about her. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't. That was just, Ray Jackson's character. You know what I'm saying? Between women, boozing, and fighting, that was his character, yo. And I ain't even gonna lie, he's one of my favorite characters in the movie. Now, there's another scene in the movie where everybody's being tested before they're allowed to enter the tournament. So when he signs up, you know what I'm saying? He takes his brick and smashes it over his head. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was pretty funny. Even like every time I watch the movie, I think that one scene is funny. And then the scene where you got where you got the Asian dude, you know what I'm saying? He finds out who the guys are, you know what I'm saying? He finds out they're from America because the whole thing is taking place in like this underground area, you know what I'm saying? So he's blocking the door, but then when Frank's manager or the dude that's with him tells them, who they are, he's like, "Okay, USA." And then, Donald Gibbs character Ray Jackson, he he starts mocking him. This shit's funny. I ain't even gonna lie, yo. But yeah, there's so many classic scenes with him. Now, there's one particular moment in this movie where I thought he was kind of dumb. It was the moment when he fought Chong Li. And he was, getting the best of Chong Li, played by Bolo Young. But he was getting the best of him until, he started like, dancing around, well, not dancing around, but until he started acting cocky and arrogant, you know what I'm saying? Everybody was like, well, Frank Dux was telling him to turn around because Bolo or Chong Li wasn't done yet, you know what I'm saying? So he got up, and by the time Ray turned around, Bolo basically took him out, you know what I'm saying? And then damn near crushed his skull in. So Bolo pretty much won that match with no mercy. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, then after that, he was really taken out of the rest of the movie until near the end. And I think that was only like his second or third fight. I mean, that you actually saw. Because the first few fights, you know what I'm saying, or the first fight, you know what I'm saying, he took out his opponent with no issues at all. So, you had the montage where the rest of the fighters are fighting. And there's one dude that was in the movie who really knew martial arts. Like, he was an expert, but I think he had to tone it down just to make Van Damme's character look better. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you could tell a lot of those guys that was in that movie were actual martial artists. You know what I'm saying? I felt like they did a pretty good job. Now, Bolo, Bolo Young, right? Chong Li, he was merciless, man. So I want to talk about him real quick too. Chong Li he would like he really didn't do much talking, but whenever he did, it's like his English was extremely broken. Now, there was a line in the movie where in the beginning, like I said, where everybody was getting tested before the actual tournament, and Frank Dukes, you know what I'm saying? He broke the brick, like he had committed. He had was asked to do you know what I'm saying, hey, what you call that junk, man? Hey, what was that move? See, I'm on the spot here. Like, I didn't really take notes for this, but hey, what was the move? But anyway, he was asked to do it. You know what I'm saying? The Demok. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how that slipped my mind. You know what I mean? But he was asked to do the Demok. So he was about to perform it, but Chong Li told him, they smashed the brakes near the bottom. So when he performed the move, he hit the bricks like, hard, and then it smashed the ones on the bottom. So the the referees, not the referees, but the dudes, you know what I'm saying? The dudes I was signing them up, they was impressed. You know what I'm saying? Because they didn't believe that his Shidoshi was Shinzo Tanaka. You know what I'm saying? His master. So they let him in after that. But then you get that line from Bolo where he says, "Very good, but brick, no hit back." That's basically the same line Bruce used in Into the Dragon. You know what I'm saying? On O'Hara before he basically beat his ass and killed him. When he said boys don't hit back. So yeah, that was you know what I'm saying, that was a classic line right there. But Bolo, now it was told to Frank in the audience by Ray that Bolo actually killed somebody in the tournament before, and he just sat there and watched them die. So we all knew when we first seen the movie that Bolo was the main villain, because you could really tell by not by the montage, but well, yeah, by the montage, because when you see Bolo in the beginning before he breaks the ice, it basically ain't it ain't y'all. I can't talk tonight, y'all. I'm bugging, but yo, it pretty much zooms in on his character, so he's the villain. And I think a lot of tournament movies like this, like you had Lady Blood Fight, where you had pretty much two villains. You had the crazy chick, and then you had the main villain at the end, the one girl that was fighting for the other chick. You know what I'm saying? It's like it was two women who disliked each other because of a dispute with one of the women's fiance. You know what I'm saying? Which was the other woman's brother. You know what I'm saying? So she blamed her for his death. And so out of revenge, you know what I'm saying? She had found some girl to train her, to make her a better fighter against the other girl that the other woman was training. You know what I'm saying? I know it's kind of confusing, but I'm going off on a tangent. But yeah, anyway, I feel like there's a lot of villains like Bolo in these movies. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he pretty much, dispatched his opponents really, really quickly. You know what I mean? And then near the end, like when he was in one of his last fights, he actually killed his opponent by snapping his neck. You know what I'm saying? That shit was crazy. So when the judges stood up, they basically turned their back on him. You know what I'm saying? And then the crowd got quiet as well because they knew that he just murdered somebody. So that was frowned upon. But this was also the kumite where anything goes. It was full contact. So I didn't know how they did not expect that. You know what I mean? Now, I want to get into Frank Dux, though. You know what I'm saying? So the movie Frank Dux is what I'm going to call him. The movie Frank Dux, you know what I'm saying? He was in the military, right? But in the beginning, when he first visit Tanaka's house, he has a flashback to when he was a kid, when him and his friends broke into that same house trying to steal the sword from the tournament that he won before, years before. So he got caught. The other two ran away. And so he told Tanaka, Shinzo Tanaka, that he wasn't going to steal the sword. And his son came in and kicked him right in the stomach. And so Tanaka took the sword and sliced the tip of his hat off without him flinching. And so because of it, he decided to train Frank. And plus, he wasn't going to call the cops either. So that was pretty much the deal. If he's able to train Frank, then he'll, forget about everything. So in the beginning, Frank was just his son's punching bag. And so, Frank started absorbing, all the knowledge to, his son's training or whatever. And then Frank eventually wanted Tanaka to train him later on because Tanaka's son had actually passed away. Now, we don't know how he passed away. He just passed away. And so at first Tanaka was hesitant because he said he wasn't Japanese. You know what I'm saying? But eventually he gave in and started training Frank. Now, I say the training methods that he used on Frank was like torturous. Very, very, very torturous. You know what I'm saying? But I guess that was the methods that, he needed in order to win this tournament. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, the guy that played Shinzo Tanaka, Roy Child, you know what I'm saying? Child, God, yo. I can try to pronounce, I'm trying to pronounce these names, but, you know what I'm saying? His name is Roy Child. He was also in Into the Dragon. I don't know if y'all caught that for those who've seen that movie, but the scene where Bruce is talking to his teacher, you know what I'm saying? He was basically asking Bruce to repeat the lessons that he learned. The older dude, that's him, you know what I'm saying? And he's actually Chinese, I believe. But you know what I mean? He did, I think his acting was solid in this movie. You know what I'm saying? Van Damme, his acting was okay. A lot of people say Van Damme can't act, but it was all right. You know what I mean? For his first starring role. So he winds up going to the military. And then when it's time for the tournament, he winds up, becoming a military deserter. He winds up deserting the military to go participate in this tournament. And there's two FBI agents that come after him. Hammer, I think one of them was Helmer and the other one was Rollins. Rollins was played by Forrest Whitaker, a young Forrest Whitaker when he had the flat top and all of that. You know what I'm saying? So there's a scene where Frank is sitting in the lobby with Ray, and they just hanging out. And then two FBI agents come in because they finally found him. And so Frank runs off. And then it's like this montage where they chasing him all through Hong Kong and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was pretty funny because he was just ducking and dodging with no issues, and they was stumbling over people and tripping over things and things like that. You could tell. So if you look closely, there's a scene where there was this like bus coming up the street, and Frank runs across the street and he's chilling, and then until the FBI agents get right up on him and he starts running again. He's basically taunting them because he knows that they can't catch up with him. You know what I'm saying? So when they finally do manage to catch up with him, you know what I'm saying, in his alley later on, he winds up taking out the cops that's there to try to, ambush him or whatever. So he winds up taking the two FBI agents' tasers, and he tells them after the tournament, he'll join them to get on the plane to go back to the United States. And so they eventually relent, you know what I'm saying? So, and I thought that was a unrealistic situation because yo, he did assault two police officers, so it was just like, damn, yo. But anyway, but yeah, so of course it comes down to him and Bolo, but I gotta say his first fight in the beginning, where he's fighting the Arab dude, the dude that he met in the lobby, because the Arab dude wanted to take the woman who was played by Leah Ayres, named Janice Kent. She was like a news reporter or whatever. No, she was a journalist. I'm sorry, she was a journalist, and she was trying to get a story, about the kumite, but everybody was acting like, they didn't know what she was talking about, and then because she knew about it, so it was like, who else knew about it? It's supposed to be an underground event, a secret event, but everybody and their great grandmother knew about it. You know what I'm saying? So she was trying to get the Arab dudes, you know what I'm saying, to talk, but instead they wanted to take her up to their room. But then this is when Frank stepped in. He made a deal with the dudes. He said, if you can snatch the coin, if I can snatch this coin out of your hand, then the girl stays with me. So at first the girl's resisting, like, yo, I ain't no prize to be won, blah, blah, blah. But then, I guess she had an attraction to Frank. So when Frank did the quarter trick, you know what I'm saying, the dude closed his hand real fast, thinking that, Frank wasn't quick enough. So Frank told him to open up his hands, and the dude looked down, and it was a different coin. You know what I'm saying? Yo, I think they call that the Quicksilver trick or something like that. I tried that, yo, but nah, I don't think I'm that fast. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's the same dude he fights in the tournament. That's the dude, like, cause he had a gold front in his mouth, and Frank knocked him out, beating. I think he knocked him out, beating Chong Li's old record, and that's what pissed Chong Li off. You know what I'm saying? And that's why Chong Li started, turning his attention towards Frank in every fight. And, and so after Bolo, he calling him Bolo. After Chong Li knocks out Ray Jackson, he takes Ray's bandana off of his leg or whatever, and then he starts spinning it around, you know what I'm saying? No, he takes it off of him, and then he, you know what I'm saying, he's taunting Frank with it, saying, "You are next." And I thought that was like the funniest line when I first seen the movie, where he was like, "You are next." You know what I'm saying? Of course it was dubbed, you know what I mean? But but yeah, man. So this pisses Frank off, you know what I'm saying? So Janice don't want Frank to fight Bolo in the finals because she's afraid that he might end up like Ray or even dead. You know what I mean? So he ain't trying to hear what she got to say. They get into a big argument and she walks off. You know what I mean? So now it's down to Frank Dux and Bolo, and now Frank is actually holding his own against Bolo, like against Chong Li. Like he's actually, coming out on top. You know what I mean? Until Chong Li throws his powder into Frank's eyes. He pretty much cheated. You know what I'm saying? So after this, Frank, he started getting his ass handed to him for a little bit. Not for long, not long, but he started getting his ass whooped for a little bit. So remembering the training that he had with Shinzo Tanaka, the blindfolded training, which, you know what I'm saying, came in handy at this point. This is when Chong Li tried to take him out, and then he winds up catching his foot or whatever, and he jumps up, and then, you know what I'm saying, next thing you know, Frank is taking it to him, you know what I mean? And so Bolo winds up losing by, tapping out, basically saying Mate, but that's how Frank won. You know what I'm saying? He was still a little blinded, but he won. And so there's another character in this movie. I don't know if y'all noticed. If you seen the movie Kickboxer, and you got Michael, what's his name, Michelle Kesey. He played the villain in Kickboxer, yo, Tong Po. So if you look closely, he's also in Bloodsport. You'll recognize him if you look close enough. You know what I'm saying? Him and Van Damme were like real cool in real life at the time. You know what I'm saying? So I think Van Damme not got him the role, but he wanted him in the movie Kickboxer. So I think he did a pretty good job in that film as Tong Po. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm gonna get on a little tangent and talk about Kickboxer for a minute because they kind of got out of hand with those movies, because in the first movie you had Van Damme, and then you had your boy hey, I forgot what his name was. Yo, I'm sorry y'all, but names be slipping my mind when I'm recording, yo, because like I said, I'm doing this off top, and so yeah, that's that. But he was a real life kickboxer, the dude that played Van Damme's brother. You know what I'm saying? But I heard they had to dub his voice over because his original voice didn't sound hard enough. So yeah, he fought Tong Po in the beginning, Van Damme's brother. You know what I'm saying? And lost. Like he got horribly beaten. He got beaten badly. You know what I'm saying? To the point where he was paralyzed. And so this made Van Damme's character wanted to train in Muay Thai. You know what I'm saying? Just so he could fight Tong Po. And he came out on top at the end. You know what I'm saying? But in the second kickboxing movie, both him and his brother were killed by Tong Po. And then old boy who trained Van Damme's character in that movie, his niece was also murdered. So they were all killed off by the second movie. And then you had old boy that came in to play Cody off Step by Step. I don't know if y'all remember that show, but he was also a martial artist in real life. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so you had Kickboxer 1, Kickboxer 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 had Mark Dacascos, hell of a martial artist. But the fourth movie was trash. So if I was y'all and you never seen Beyond Kickboxer 1, if you decide to give them a watch 2, 3, and 5. Don't even waste your time with 4. 4 is just trash. But anyway, back to Bloodsport. So yeah, pretty much the end, it just ends with, Frank Dux beating Bolo Young, or damn, Chong Li. You know what I'm saying? So I really enjoyed the movie when it came out. I really did. The acting in the movie was it was meh, you know what I'm saying? But I think they acted well enough for an entertaining film. You know what I'm saying? I say the scenery was beautiful. You know what I mean? It was really beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Like when the movie first came out, I bet the theaters were packed. You know what I'm saying? It was a Canon film. You know what I'm saying? So, if Canon made the movie, it was either going to be a martial arts film or action film. Well, it's technically both the same thing, but y'all know what I mean. Um, and this is one of my favorite films. Although I got Kickboxer on DVD, but I don't have Bloodsport, believe it or not. You know what I'm saying? I got to get that movie. But I've watched it enough, you know what I'm saying, to where I can do this review and not have to write anything. You know what I'm saying? And I got to start doing notes and scripts and all of that, because I know y'all tired of me saying and stumbling over my words. But anyway, whatever. Bloodsport. If you haven't seen the movie, I don't know where the hell you been, but check it out. It's a good movie, and I think you will enjoy it. And I think it's one of those movies where if you have friends over or whatever, you could pop it in, watch it. Hell, you can even make fun of some of the people in the movie, you know what I'm saying? Or some of the scenes or whatnot. But I think everybody will really enjoy this film. You know what I'm saying? I might give it a watch later on. I don't know. But like I said, and if I got to give this movie a score, I will give this movie, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, it's just a super classic. So check it out. And if you're watching this on YouTube, give me a like, comment, and subscribe. I will greatly appreciate y'all. All right? I got to go take a piss, y'all. So have a good night and enjoy yourselves. All right? Peace.
The feeling is mutual. Come in, take a seat, share your thoughts with each, and preach it when you speak, so we can share kinetic energy throughout the brainwave. Keep us balanced out and all on the same stage.